Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Regional Development Assessment Panel. I declare the meeting open at 1:04, and in doing so acknowledge that we're hosting this meeting on traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation and are joined by people from other lands around the state. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of Western Australia. Pay respect to elders past and present and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters and community. This meeting will be run in accordance with the RDAP Standing Orders 2024 under the Planning and Development Assessment Panel's Regulations 2011. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the DAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of the Planning and Development Assessment Panel's Regulations 2011. Members are reminded to announce their name and title prior to speaking. Panel members may refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in considering the information before them. My name is Clayton Hyam. I'm the presiding member for today's meeting. On my right is Dale Page, the deputy presiding member. On the left, Tony Arias, the specialist member, and we have Councillor Winner and Councillor Turner from the City of Kalgoorlie. Welcome to you all. Have no apologies. No members listed on leave of absence, and minutes from previous meetings are available on the DAP website. Turning to Part B of the agenda, seeking a declaration of due consideration of all members familiar with the material before you today. There's also an R13 sent out with additional information. Can you raise your hands? Thank you.
I just had a quick notation to make on some of the documentation that came through. It referred to the City of Karratha at several headings that needs to be corrected and fixed.
Yes. Okay. The Secretariat has made a note of that, and that will happen. Thank you. Disclosures of interest. Councillors, this matter went before the City originally or subsequent to the deferral?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, prior to the deferral, it did go to Council. Since the deferral, it has not been back to Council.
Okay. We need to still do it. Okay, thank you. So are there any disclosures of interest?
No.
No. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, we'll move to the item. And this is the item at Kitchener Road, Mullingar, the proposed workforce accommodation facility. We have one presenter. Yes, Robert Walker. 3 minutes. Robert, over to you.
Thank you, presiding member. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Firstly, just like to thank the City's officers for another supportive recommendation and for their work on this project for over a year now. We're supportive of the officers' recommendation, and we don't have any objections or proposed modifications to the conditions that are proposed. Following the deferral received on the 6th of May, we've reviewed the reasons for the Council recommending a refusal in closer detail. We've provided a detailed response in our amended DA submission, but I suppose two main changes since then have occurred to the plans. This included an increase in the room sizes from 11.88 square metres to 14.3 to specifically address the City's workforce accommodation policy. That's subsequently resulted in an increase in the number of cabins being provided on site overall to accommodate that increase in floor space. There's also 4 additional rooms now, so an increase from 800 to 804. And the BMP as well has been updated in accordance with the amendments to VP 3.7. So there's probably no need to repeat the level of detail that we provided in our amended DA submission. So I suppose if there are any specific questions, we'd be very happy to respond to them.
Sure. Thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant? Councillors, do you have any questions?
Okay, so I have a question. So there was numerous points of concern to council when it went to council, which is why the application wasn't supported. But I can only see that in that deferred period of 90 days, that only 2 of them have been addressed, and the others have either been dismissed or disregarded, or of being that they weren't of concern to the applicant, the proponent. So that I have a question on why not all of the concerns were addressed.
Thank you for the question, Councillor. I believe we have addressed all of Council's concerns in detail in the amended submission. Was there any part of our response which you had specific concern about, or you requested further clarification on?
Well, particularly based on the lack of the needs assessment, which was further highlighted at the last DAP. Yeah, this is, I don't believe it still has not been provided or considered. So the purpose of the last deferral, I thought a lot of it had to do with the relationship to the needs assessment.
Okay, yes. Thank you for the question. Look, we are aware that there is a requirement to provide a needs response with the submission. We're aware of the statistics that are available as to what the availability of accommodation is within the city of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, and between the permanent housing stock that's available and the short stay stock as well, the stock that's available wouldn't cover 50% of what's required as to what's actually required by this workforce accommodation facility. So we didn't exactly see a need to provide a full-on needs assessment, when I think it's evident that the stock that's available in Kalgoorlie isn't suitable for a workforce accommodation facility of this size. And I think, just to add to that, I don't necessarily think it would be a positive outcome if the available housing stock in Kalgoorlie was exhausted just for half of the workers that are required for this specific development. I think the last time we checked the permanent housing data that was available, I think Kalgoorlie's available stock was about 1.8%.
So do you think it's possible that you've misinterpreted what we required in a needs assessment? A needs assessment isn't just what the proponent needs as in supply of stock or what the community has. There's a lot more to a needs assessment of what there's the social impact, there is the other alternatives that you can have. There's things included in the development that obviously councillors weren't happy with, that they're all part of a needs assessment. And it looks like the view, you've only looked on a needs assessment of the needs of the number of accommodation units you need. So I don't believe that the needs assessment has been looked at broadly as it should have, because a needs assessment is also supposed to take into consideration of other community needs, not just the number of units. So you probably disagree with that because you haven't done that, but I have grave concerns that hasn't been provided or considered, just because it's in the policy that it's required.
Look, just to your point before, so I mean, in terms of the social impact, there was a social impact assessment that was provided as part of the original documentation with the DA submission. Now, in terms of then going on to the community benefits, I mean, I know there were some concerns raised in the submissions received during the original advertising of the application, but just from a community benefits perspective, there's a long list of benefits that do, I suppose, come with this application as well. I mean, one being the shuttle bus that's proposed to transport a lot of the workers directly into the town centre. I think probably another key benefit as well that's going to come from this as well is the extension of Kitchener Road up to the proposal as well, which Northern Star have agreed to cover the cost for. That's going to include a footpath as well to connect all the future workers into the city. and it includes the upgrade of a key intersection there of Kitchener, Addis, and I think it's King. So I think between those documents, I think that appropriately covers the needs requirement.
So my final question to you probably would be, you've highlighted some of the other concerns in the needs assessment, which we'll probably touch on later. The Kitchener Road upgrade, I'm not sure obviously it says it has to be sealed, but I'm not sure with the budget allowance in there what level it's going to be sealed to. The footpath is a footpath to your camp, so I'm not sure how that's a benefit to residents. And the shuttle bus, I'm perplexed about that because I'm not sure where the shuttle bus is taking anyone apart from to the airport and back, because you have a convenience store in there and you have a wet mess in there. So I can't see how, and I'm sure that there would be conditions on employees that they have to eat there. So I'm not sure the benefit of the shuttle bus and what benefit our community gets to that, because most of the things that, apart from maybe a pharmacy, most of the things that the people that are going to be staying there are going to have been addressed in the development application to be supplied by the operator or the company. I'm not sure who'll be operating it, in the fact that, so I'm not, that'll be something to be determined at later, but I'm not sure if the shuttle bus is of benefit to the community or the shuttle bus is of benefit to the proponent, but that's just my observation.
Was there a question there, Councillor?
Well, yeah, I suppose what's the benefit of the shuttle bus? Because you have a convenience store there, you have a wet mess, you have a gym. So
to answer that.
Well, I mean, I can't contemplate exactly why some of the workers might choose to go into the town. I suppose it's just to provide the option if they wanted to. In speaking with city's administration staff, I believe the footpath was of a lot of importance to them to provide an alternative form of transport to and from the city centre. And I suppose just to touch on your point, Councillor, again about the Kitchener upgrade, I suppose it's not just about the transportation to and from the facility now. I understand there was a subdivision approval over this site quite some time ago, and a significant barrier for that subdivision approval being implemented was the inability for Kitchener to be upgraded. So I suppose one of the significant benefits of this proposal is, once the lifespan of the workforce accommodation facility is finished, Kitchener Road can then facilitate direct access to what will be future residential land, including key infrastructure like water and power as well.
Okay, thank you. Further questions?
No further questions for the presenter at this point in time, thanks.
Yes.
Just a couple of quick questions. So, dealing with the issue of Kitchener Road and the path, as well as the upgrading of the intersections, I think I asked this at the last meeting. You've said you're comfortable with the condition, but are you comfortable that the scope of those works is very clearly understood between yourselves and the city?
Yes.
Okay. Then my next question is, the report outlines that you plan to use excess water resources within your own allocation for this project, and that there are two different ways of getting it to site. Which method do you anticipate using, constructing the additional water pipeline or trucking?
I think thanks for the question. The preferred option is option one, which is through the pipeline, the construction of additional pipelines to hook into existing infrastructure. And I suppose the other option was also presented just in case the city had a different view, or if they had any key concerns that we need to work through with the first option. But in discussions that I've had with the city to date, I don't think any key concerns at this stage have been raised. So it would be our intention, I think, to proceed with option one.
Further questions? No. All right, thank you for that. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on to the city officers. And I'll see if there's any questions of the city officers. Councillors, do you have any questions of the city officers?
I do, if I may, Presiding Officer.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Terence Winner. Just to the city officers, the first question I have is just highlighting on a comment made by the applicants. So the applicant stated that in their most recent revised submission to to the city, that the applicant has stated they feel they've addressed all of council's concerns in their amended submission lodged. Upon reviewing this document, would the city's position Also be that all concerns of council have been addressed in this submission.
Thank you, Councillor. Paul East, Manager Development and Growth. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you. Our position is we welcome the changes that have been made in terms of the upgrading of the bushfire management plan and the increase of the units. And we don't believe there's an issue with the slight additional units that have been provided. Previously, we believe that the information was such that the application could be approved. And Councillor, I agree that you may wish and desire to see much more information in terms of further detail on the needs assessment, and I fully understand that. And that could go into a whole range of economic and social matters. Our position hasn't changed. We have accepted from an officer position what was provided, and that's still our position.
Thank you. My next question is, upon reviewing further in depth the revised application that's come through, the application at stage was required to be open for public consultation for 28 business days as per planning regulations. However, upon reviewing it, it appears the consultation period was actually short and did not factor in public holidays. So it was advertised from the 13th of December 2024 to the 19th of January 2025, which is 26 days, and does not factor in the additional 3 public holidays on top of that. My question is, would this make the public consultation period non-compliant, therefore?
Thanks, Councillor. I'll make an initial comment and pass over to Kevin Tang. My understanding is that the requirement doesn't exclude public holidays and weekends. In fact, it's calendar days, I understand, in WA. And I believe that it was advertised sufficiently, but I'll hand over to Kevin for detail as he was the project officer.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, Kevin.
So thank you for the question. I believe, let me just, I think about 28 days, take into account the public holidays. The days between, I think it's in fact more than, so it's excluding all the public holidays, it's 28 days.
Further questions?
The next question I have, thank you, is I understand the city has proposed an alternative recommendation to address council and community concerns around Kitchener Road through the use of Premier Street. While I note that this has not been supported by the applicants, I also note that Kitchener Road usage has not been supported by council or community. I just was interested if the city officer was able to provide a bit of a brief overview of what benefits this alternative would provide over what is being proposed in the original application, and why the city was considering this as an option.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for the question. The Premier Street alignment is something which, unfortunately, came to my attention late in the process. And in trying to find a way forward to address certainly community concerns around the additional traffic volumes on Kitchener Road and where it connects with the city, I did approach Main Roads WA, had a look at the highway. There was about a kilometre of road where a deceleration and acceleration lane could have been constructed, and good sight lines. In discussing the matter with Main Roads, it came to my attention that in the city record somewhere there was early work done for Premier Street. Now, the Premier Street alignment opens up future residential land for development for the city, so it's strategic, it's important. Crosses the railway line and connects to the Goldfields Highway, and also was proposed, when you look at the little plan that I've supplied in the addendum, was going to provide access to the proposed subdivision. My view is that a direct connection would still be favourable and preferred, and we in fact were given a range of conditions by Main Roads WA that they advised us that if those conditions were imposed, they would fully accept that as an alternative access. The applicant has, due to a number of reasons, and their client has decided not to go forward with that alternate access.
Okay, thank you. My final question is, given this hasn't had the opportunity to come back to council, I just wanted to know what level of engagement has occurred between the city and the applicant since the last RDAP meeting in order to resolve some of those concerns that were identified at the last RDAP meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. We've received the information as a whole quite late. We haven't talked about the information in detail, though we were provided the plan. So we've had information submitted to the council over a period of time, to the city. I did provide the applicant and asked that the alternative access arrangements and the conditions provided by Main Roads WA be discussed with their client, and said that that was a preferred approach from an officer level for the city for access. But as I say, for a number of reasons, that hasn't been considered.
Thank you. That's all the questions from myself, but I believe Councillor Turner may have questions.
Okay, thanks. So through the chair to the city officer. So given the close proximity of what is proposed within this application to the CBD, which our own presenters highlighted with their proposed shuttle bus, would greater community integration be reasonably expected? And as such, items are not limited to, such as the proposed convenience store, would they serve a limited or nil benefit to the community?
Councillor, thank you for the question. I think the premise of your question, if I understand it, is that the more services that could be obtained for the workforce camp from the city and from the range of offerings in the city would be a significant economic benefit to the city, and I agree with you. My view is that if the operator were to encourage workers to integrate with the city, to use the city services, to use the cycle path to move back and forward, join gyms, to have meals out, I think all that would be a great benefit to the city. Yes.
Yeah. Well, my question is on the premise that other workforce accommodation that has been approved by the city and also supported by the city through the RDAP process. So I would say that our council is certainly not anti-workforce accommodation. They understand the need for it, and there's circumstances that I would suggest even metropolitan cities require workers to fly in to do specialised work. We understand that, but it's so close to the CBD that we haven't had. I suppose it's a first. We haven't had one that is so close to our main CBD. Certainly we have Burt Street, but that doesn't have the level of services that are able to be provided. So that's the premise. And obviously you highlighted some of those other items. So we've also got the gym. We have the meal service. So the question with that is, in your professional opinion, would it be normal for a needs assessment to be not just on the need of the applicant, but on the need of the project for the community, and to have not completed that as part of due diligence process when it was? And is that required as per the policy and the process? So that's my question to the officer, because I feel that the need has only been done on the need of the applicant.
Thank you, Councillor. I'd have to say from an officer planning position, we've accepted what was provided, and I would say again that any applicant that was willing to provide more information and better integration of their services with city services and activities would be welcome. However, we haven't changed our position from the original position.
Thank you. Further questions, Councillor?
Not at this stage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other members, questions?
Sorry, through the chair, I may just add a point of clarification in regards to the public consultation, because I was just searching how many days the proposal was actually being advertised. So the proposal was advertised between the 13th of December 2024 and 19th of January 2025, being 37 days in total. So that would have taken into account the public holiday period over Christmas and New Year.
Okay.
Thank you.
My apologies. Does that also include weekends?
I don't think weekend is excluded from the advertising period. So that's but the public holidays, yes, they do exclude them from the public consultation period. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. No further questions of the officers. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on to the item. There is the RAR addendum, which has an officer recommendation, and what I'm going to seek a mover and seconder for is the first part of the officer recommendation, which is the preamble with the conditions from attachment 10. So that's an approval. Is there a mover for that? Yes, thank you, Member Dale. Is there a seconder for it? Thank you, Member Harris.
Yes, so thank you, presiding member. Look, in reviewing the information, and I went back and reviewed the previous information for the previous meeting as well, and my notes on that matter, as well as the information that was being provided from the city staff now. I note the city's clarification that the proposed use is certainly capable of approval by this panel. If the proposal has been advertised, and we hear that it has been advertised for the appropriate period, and if we feel that the proposed use is consistent with the objectives of the residential zone. I note that the previous city's RAR didn't contain a full assessment, and at the previous meeting, I ran through my own assessment against the residential zone and concluded that I thought that the use is consistent with the objectives of the zone. So I'm really pleased to see that the city has now done their own assessment against those objectives, or not only done, they've reported that assessment, and that aligns with the comments I made. So very pleased to see the city's assessment that the proposed use aligns with the residential zone. I also note now that the city is of the view that the proposal is mostly compliant with your workforce accommodation policy, and that's largely due to changes made by the applicant to increase room sizes well above the minimum stated in the policy, it appears. Also in recognition of the social and community benefits associated with the proposal, and in recognition of need for the facility. And I'll touch on that very briefly. So I recognise the points that the councillors have made. In terms of community benefit, broader community benefit, I have a sense that I'd be reluctant to refuse this application on the basis there's no needs assessment that has been, no formal needs assessment. I think needs been demonstrated, enough information has been provided and recognised by city's officers that there's a need, not only from the proponent's point of view, but I would ask myself the question that surely the activities of this proponent contribute to broader socioeconomic need in the or benefit in the city. Without it, it would certainly, I think, have a dent. So I'm comfortable that enough information, the policy says a needs assessment. I'm not sure that that is prescribed in any way what that should look like. I'm comfortable as a decision maker that I have enough information in both reports to demonstrate that there is community need has been addressed. One of the councillors made the point that the camp is almost self-sufficient. So, you know, are you addressing community need? I think picking up on that point, if the camp is almost self-sufficient, then arguably there wouldn't be a reason for the applicants to build that extended footpath and so on, yet they are. And I think that, given that and the long-term community benefit to the city of Kalgoorlie and Boulder of unlocking that land for future development, gives me comfort that broader community need has been considered. I'm also happy to see that the traffic peer review done by the city confirms that the local road network can accommodate the anticipated traffic volumes. And notwithstanding that, that's the current road network. The proponent will still pay for the extension of Kitchener Road and associated intersections, as well as the footpath. And that will encourage and contribute to the viability of future residential development on the site. I also believe that that opens the way for integration of the workforce with the existing community. I'm not an expert on workforce accommodation, but I know a large number of people that do work FIFO, and they tend, if they have access to broader facilities than what exists in their accommodation, they certainly seek to be part of those or to partake in those. So I'm hoping that that will certainly contribute to the local businesses. Also note that although the Bushfire Management Plan originally submitted was generally consistent with the objectives of SPP 3.7 and addressed all relevant requirements, I'm happy to see that it's been updated to reflect the most recent changes. And the last reason for refusal that was previously raised was about the water allocation. This has been addressed for confirmation. The proponent plans to use excess water resources within their own allocation. They don't intend to use additional city water resources. In my mind, that effectively removes the obstacles that stood in the way of an approval last time around. So I'm happy to support the proposal. I commend the applicants and the city staff for working together to bring it to this point. I would like to move to amendments to conditions in the event that this gets up. I would seek to move an amendment to condition 7 to include the following sentences at the end of the condition. And the sentence shall read, prior to or in conjunction with the submission of an occupancy permit application, landscaping areas shall be installed in accordance with the approved landscaping plan to the satisfaction of the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder. All landscaping areas shall be maintained for the life of development to the satisfaction of the city.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The reason for that is there is condition requesting that landscape plan, and that's great. But I just think the additional sentences will ensure that it will allow the city to ensure that the approved landscaping plan is actually implemented and that landscaping is maintained for the duration of the development. No doubt they would have sought to do that anyway. This just gives them some extra ability to enforce that landscape plan.
Are there any speakers against that amendment?
Presiding Officer, am I able to propose an alternative?
No, we need to deal with this one first of all.
Okay. So in that case, I will be speaking against this motion.
Okay.
While I agree you would not be refusing this proposal based on each area of concern on their own, I do feel that collectively there is more than enough reason not to approve this application at this point in time.
Councillor, we're just dealing with the amendment.
The amendment itself?
Yes, that's all we're dealing with at the moment.
Okay. Do you have anything to add?
No.
Not to the amendment itself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No further speakers? Okay, I'll put that amendment. All in favour? Against? That's carried 3-2. Still with you, Dale.
Thank you. I would seek to amend condition 11 to include a time frame within which that certification needs to occur. I suggest adding the wording prior to or in conjunction with the submission of an occupancy permit application at the start of condition 11.
So, sorry, prior to
or in conjunction with
in
the
conjunction.
submission of an occupancy permit application.
Right, that's moved by Dale Page. Is there a seconder for that? Yes, Tony Yaris, thank you.
Thank you. Look, the reason it doesn't change the intent of the condition, it just makes it clear when that action needs to occur. There's currently no timeline in that condition.
Is there a speaker? Sorry, did you want to
No.
speak a second? Is there a speaker against that amendment? No. Okay, I'll put the amendment. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Still with you.
Thank you. Nothing further. To
Nothing
add.
further. Member Harris would like to speak.
Yeah, thank you. Deputy presiding member has provided comprehensive reasons for supporting the application, which I would endorse. I'll make just a couple of comments in terms of the compliance with the town planning scheme. The RDAP confirms that, and I do agree with the context. In terms of the objectives of the residential zone, the scheme provides 3 dot points, without reading those in full, but it talks about providing a range of housing, and clearly workforce accommodation provides our diversity, which is required in a community like Kalgoorlie. There's been discussion about compliance with the city's workforce accommodation policy, and once again, the RAR says that generally compliant. Now, note some concerns at the comprehensiveness of the needs assessment, but I'm comfortable that sufficient information has been provided, noting also that a social impact assessment, which was very comprehensive and provided as part of the original documentation, which is clearly relevant in considering the current application. I note the changes made by the applicant, which I think makes it for a more livable complex, which I would endorse. In terms of some of the other technical things like traffic management, bushfire management, we've got revised technical reports which indicate, and supported by the city's officers, that these are appropriate. So on that basis, I cannot support the refusal reasons, and I think the application should be approved in its current form.
Thank you for that. Is there a speaker against the motion to approve the application? Councillor Turner, can't see you.
Oh, Councillor Winner first. He
Sorry,
put his hand up
that was
first.
my presiding officer.
Right.
Thank you. Again, while I would not refuse the proposal based on each grounds of concern on their own, I still feel, with the information provided both today and previously, that collectively there's still more than enough reason not to approve this application. I don't feel this application is completely compliant with the WA Planning Commission Transport Assessment Guidelines, the city's workforce accommodation policy, or the local planning framework, and policies that apply and are relevant to the local government. And I feel to approve it at this point in time has set an unfavourable precedent moving forward. I do not feel that policies, guidelines, and frameworks are developed for the applicant to pick and choose which components they wish to be compliant with. And the applicant's amended submission does not address all of the concerns of council, with minimal engagement with this city to work through the concerns since the last RDAP meeting. While I acknowledge the applicants indicated amendments to room sizing and the inclusion of a much more robust bushfire plan, and thank them for this, I feel the applicant still has not addressed all of council's or community concerns and requirements, including around viable alternative road solutions, the needs assessment as previously discussed, and concerns around power, water, noise, sewage. There is a significant difference, I feel, between due regard and disregard. And to approve this application now, in my opinion, would be to disregard policies and procedures formally adopted by local government that are both relevant and responsible. And as such, at this point in time, I would not be supportive of this application.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Turner.
Okay, so I also had several points to make on why I don't support the application in its current form, and that doesn't mean there may be a foreshadowed motion or something, that a request for a further deferral for 30 days. The updated information we've had, the RAR doesn't allow for Northern Star's current plans to put in another 300-bed camp on their own lease, which does not require to come to local government approval. So that hasn't allowed for, and that's also, and I believe would have to be addressed also in a needs assessment, which has been ignored. So that they've got a plan for another 300 beds, which is their prerogative and their right on their own lease, which does not need to come to local government, which was highlighted in some of the documentation, that their alternatives are to just build on their lease or to go to another shire. I'm still concerned, I disagree with council officers on the consultation period, because I believe under our policy, it actually says that, and I'll quote it, when consultation occurs over an extended public holiday period comprising 1, Christmas/New Year and Easter, the advertising period shall be extended for a further 7 working days to take into account any public holidays. And 2, other public holidays advertising period shall be extended for a further 2 working days. I still don't believe that it was extended for a further 7 days. So I think that is incorrect. So that's another reason. Councillor Winner has already mentioned the majority of my concerns. And I believe as a whole, while individually they aren't of a concern, they haven't been addressed collectively. And I will also highlight once again the Kitchener Road and the footpath. This is for a 10-year approval period. At the current allowing is that this could well extend beyond 10 years. So it could actually, I know we don't know how long a piece of string is, but it could also never ever be a residential development. And I just feel that another part of it is that I can't support an application that I believe is based solely on the economic benefits to an applicant, while disregarding process requirements, needs assessment, and due regard for council and community, including what I still believe is the consultation period fell short.
Thank you, Councillor. Look, I support the proposal. I believe that the response to the deferral has been well thought through. It's provided me with good additional information, and I think it's resulting in a better outcome. Although it's located in a residential area, the use is capable of approval through the exercise of discretion. So I'm happy to exercise discretion. I understand the comments about the needs assessment, but like Member Page, I believe that there is going to be great benefit to the city from this proposal. Looking at the previous social impact assessment and the commentary that we received more recently with this deferral, I'm quite happy with the fact that there is some benefit to the city as well as obviously to the applicant. The applicant has, as I say, addressed the reasons for deferral and particularly the bushfire management plan. And I believe that now aligns with SPP 3.7. Also note many submissions of objection, but I think through those changes and through the conditions that have been imposed in the operational management plan, I don't think those objections necessarily stand up for me at the moment anyway. So I'm happy to support it, and going back to the mover, Member Page, to wind up the debate.
Nothing further to add.
Nothing further to add. Okay, I'll put the motion as amended. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Just moving on quickly with the meeting. There's no forms 2, there's no SAT reconsiderations. I'll close the meeting at 1:46 and thank councillors and officers, applicants and members of the panel and the Secretary of Staff. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, members.